All right. 9:32 here on Veterans Day. So for those of you who had plans to honor the veterans, sorry for pausing that schedule, but thank you for joining us this morning. I see we've got 36 people on the call. This is Nick Azera. If you don't recognize my voice, and we just had an extensive briefing by the Emergency Operations Center staff, all virtual, of course. So there's a lot of detail we want to fill you in on today, from sandbags to shelters and pertinent closures that are going to be influenced by Tropical Storm Eta. It's actually, we heard this morning, actually a hurricane. It's been upgraded to a hurricane, but we also believe it's going to weaken before making landfall. So with that, I'll turn it over to Director Sauer and for you to introduce Chief Litschauer on all the latest from what is now Hurricane Eta. Jake?
Good morning, everybody. As you know, we have taken a change in the path of what is now Hurricane Eta. We do expect that to diminish a little back down to a tropical storm before it makes landfall somewhere north of Tampa Bay. However, our area is still very much in the cone of uncertainty as we move forward. So our Emergency Operations Center is moving to a level 1 operations center. We've made some decisions this morning that we're going to get out to you through Chief Litschauer. But it's important to remember as we move through this, this is a fast-moving storm that's developed overnight. It's been hard to track, but we started seeing some changes last night for the track to greater affect us this morning. So we've been making some decisions early this morning that Chief Litschauer will go over with you, and then we can take any questions that you guys might have at the end of his presentation. Also, there's some county commissioners on here as well, and as well as the school board. So Steve, you want to take it away?
All right, thank you, Director. Let me try to pull up. Can you enable screen sharing again, Rachel or Nick?
Steve, hopefully that worked. You are our co-host. You should be able to share your screen.
All right, do you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. As the Director Nick said, this is a very fast-moving decisions and fast-moving storm. So with that said, I'll run you through some new information. Obviously, this slide should have been updated to level 1. We went to level 1, which means all our partners are participating in decision makings, constantly having calls with National Weather, National Hurricane Division of Emergency Management. We just finished one briefing with our partners, and we'll have another one this afternoon throughout. Our evacuation statement will be voluntary only, and please listen here. It is island communities and low-lying areas only. Voluntary, island communities and low-lying areas. Our message is, if you can shelter in place, please do so. If you can go to a family or friend, that's even better. Not even calling them shelters, refuge of last resort, refuge of last resort. If you do need, or if someone does need to go to a refuge of last resort, by this afternoon, we can have school board talk about it more. We're opening Manatee High School and Mills Elementary School. Manatee High School address is 902 33rd Street West in Bradenton. Mills is 7200 69th Street East in Palmetto. Both of those are pet friendly. The biggest concern is COVID. The capacity has been drastically decreased. That's why we're trying to impress refuge of last resort, have somewhere else to go if you can. There will be masks, there will be hand sanitizers, but there's no way of determining whether or not people are positive or not. So we're trying to impress, go somewhere else if you can, only to the schools at last resort. Sandbags, we've been doing this throughout the week. Holmes Beach City Hall, self-service, Longboat Key, Broadway Beach, Anna Marie Island Bayfront Park. County will be putting out pre-made bags at Manatee Beach and Coquina Beach as we speak. And the city of Bradenton, very carefully, is for residents only, and they have to show proof of residency. They will be open 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at 1411 9th Street West, the Public Works Annex building. But that's only for residents of the city of Bradenton. Sandbag locations and shelters will be on our website, updated just in case we make more locations. Again, we're doing a lot of work in a short period of time. As we all know, the storm has changed, but the biggest message is volunteer evacuation for low-lying and island residents only. We're concerned about the possible storm surge and high water on the islands. There'll be meetings later today, whether there'll be any government closings. We've talked to the school board, and I believe they're on the line to talk about school closures tomorrow. There'll be other decisions throughout the day, and we will update you as much as we can. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and turn it back over to
Hey, Nick, before we get started on questions, I just want to put out some more information for the public, for you guys to get out. Our county 311 line is open, and they are taking any questions residents might have about where sandbag locations are, what 2 shelters will be open during the storm. So our 311 county line is open and available for residents that might have questions. Also, all of our information is being updated on mymanatee.org. And then we really want to stress the importance of residents signing up for Alert Manatee. That's mymanatee.org/Alert Manatee. And we'll be pressing out any emergency notifications to our residents through that as well. And then with that, we could probably take some questions if any of you have any.
Jake, if I can add a couple of other minor details that are of public interest. We heard this morning that MCAT is going to be suspending all of its service today at 1 p.m. And we'll make a decision tomorrow on whether and when to resume. Also, the COVID testing site currently at the Convention and Visitors Bureau, they have plans to suspend operations today at noon. And similarly, we'll make a decision tomorrow on whether and when to open. That's dependent on the weather. We heard from our EM staff earlier this morning that there's going to be definitely some strong winds, and surge are the main concerns from this storm. And as a result of that, I think we heard also, Jake and Steve, you can confirm that the strong tropical force winds will be arriving by the afternoon, and they're expected to continue into the late evening. But it should be clearer by tomorrow morning. So we're expecting some, wind damage, down trees, and potential power outages over the next 24 hours. Do you want to elaborate on any of those details, Jake or Steve?
Sure. So this afternoon, conditions will start rapidly deteriorating. There should be no mistake. It's going to be a rough night. It's going to be a rough night. It'll be a rough morning, and then it will drastically improve through tomorrow afternoon, late morning. So residents that normally have problems with storm force winds, or if they're in an area that normally floods, now is the time that those residents should make alternate plans. We are opening up 2 shelters, Manatee High and what is the other one? I'm sorry, just skip my mind.
Mills Elementary.
Mills Elementary. But those are always a shelter of last resort. So residents know their area the best, and they should make alternate plans if they're affected normally through these type of storms, through storm surge or flooding, to make other plans to go with family members or friends outside of those areas. They don't have to leave the county. They don't have to evacuate the state. They just need to go outside of those areas that normally flood or affected by storm surge or strong winds. So we are always advising residents, those two shelters are a place of last resort, especially as COVID-19 and we move through this pandemic. It's really not a great idea if you have other options before you go to that, make your option to go to that storm shelter, go with friends or family outside of their homes area. So.
Very good. Thank you, Director Sauer. We also have Mike Barber on the line. We work obviously very closely with the school district whenever shelters need to open, and this is a particularly critical year for us to coordinate very closely together. So Mike, if you want to talk about schools at all, now's your opportunity. Please unmute your line. I'm trying to, there you go.
All right, you guys got me? Okay, sorry about that, but thanks, Nick. Yeah, we are, right now we have people at Manatee High School and at Mills Elementary preparing the schools to open at noon. As they said, they are shelters of last resort. And so we're hoping that people, if they can, stay in place and are able to shelter at home or with family members, especially during the pandemic. We do have reduced capacities at those shelters. Because of that, I'll let you know that the capacity at Manatee High School during the pandemic, the normal capacity is 1,484. Oh, I'm sorry, that's Mills. The normal capacity at Manatee High School is 1,853. During a pandemic, it's 617. And then at Mills Elementary, which is out east, normal capacity is 1,484. And during a pandemic, it's 989. So we feel like, that should be more than enough to handle, the need that is out there. In regards to school, we were off today for Veterans Day anyway, thankfully. But because we had to open the shelters, we will, and it will take time to, clean up those shelters after their use. We are planning to close our campuses the next 2 days, which would be Thursday and Friday. Now, when I say we're closing our campuses, we are still going to carry on e-learning. So we are going to be sending a message to all our parents and students, letting them know that e-learning will take place over the next 2 days. We encourage all of our students and of course our teachers will be participating in that as well. So we plan to still be having school over these next 2 days. And we will be sending that message directly to all our parents and employees and letting them know that. So I think that's all I have at this point. So I'll turn it back to you, Nick.
Very good. Thank you, Mike. Commissioner Baugh, I see you have your hand raised. I will unmute your line so you can ask your question.
Yeah,
good morning. Baugh.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having this Zoom meeting this morning. I just have a few questions. Some of us are not, thankfully today, not down near the water and so forth. So I'm just curious, Nick, for you, how are you going to get the word out to the residents about this storm? I've had some already contact me this morning. I know I have seen, some emails that you've done, and I'm sure it's on Facebook. You're always so great about that. But what are your thoughts on that for the storm?
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner. Boy, it's been moving very fast this morning, and we haven't probably even had a chance to update our social sites. But after we established these we call them battle rhythms, where the EOC has a briefing and then we have a media briefing. And after the media briefing, typically I'll do a post press conference press release to announce all the details that came out during the press conference. That'll get posted to our site and become the content that goes onto social media. And with that, I've got my, Rachel and Ogden and the great folks who help with the PIO group, then pushing it out. And obviously the media. We've got probably 30 or 40 individuals from the media here this morning. So as always, we urge residents to monitor the county's social media pages and their trusted local media resources. And they're all here this morning. They help us get that message across to residents. And then Jake and Steve, this year we're rolling out the new Alert Manatee system. We don't want to rely on that too heavily this year because the numbers aren't there where they were in past years for Code Red, but that system was retired. Now we're obviously migrating over to Alert Manatee, but all the tools at our disposal, Commissioner Ball, we're going to be using them to let residents know. But the most valuable partners we have in this are the media, and you guys are able to reach the multitudes even better than we can. So
Yeah.
Thank you for everybody for being on.
Well, I just have a couple of more questions, but Nick, you guys always do such a great job. So
Thank
I'm
you.
sure you've got it covered. Hey, Jake, I don't know if this one's for you or for Steve, but for those of us out east, who seem to really get affected by rain amounts and flooding and so forth in different areas, what are you projecting as far as rain amounts? Do we have any idea yet?
So we're looking pretty good out east. You can expect a very strong, what we call a strong summer storm type like conditions. It's going to get windy. We expect to have some trees down. We don't expect any major flooding, especially out east. Our main concern, and the reason why we're opening up those shelters today, are for the island and low-lying area residents. The storm surge that is going to come with that affecting our barrier islands has really put us into some concern. So we decided to open up those shelters. Out east, not affected as much. They're going to make it through this pretty good, we believe. But we should see, or we expect to see some storm damage as far as trees down, minor things like that.
All right. Great, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions, Commissioner. I see Commissioner Whitmore's hand now raised. Thank you for raising your hand, Commissioner. I'm unmuting your line. Hopefully you'll be able to talk here momentarily. Or
Can you
hit.
hear me?
Yeah, now we hear you.
Okay. I went to my nursing job at 6 o'clock this morning and did what I needed to do. And I live on the island. Kimberly, I see you're on my participant list. If anybody needs me, I'm staying, and I've charged everything that I have electronic, and I've got MiFi. So if you need anything, I did go by the city hall. They've got sandbags, and I'm 9 feet above sea level, so I should be okay. But I noticed that all the public works departments on the islands are out and about when I came back home around 8. So anyway, it looks like it's gonna, I even got nervous, so that's why I'm home for the rest of the day.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Now we'll, that worked well with the two commissioners raising their hand. They're old pros at these Zoom meetings now, having met virtually over the summer multiple times and gotten a good habit of raising hands to ask questions. And if you'll do the same, reporters, media members, I see Joe, you're actually showing your hand being raised, but there is a function. If you hover over your, with your mouse, look at yourself, the window at yourself, you can, you should be able to raise your hand. Or excuse me, no, it's actually, is it at the bottom? I don't see it on mine because I'm a host maybe, but there should be a Zoom option where you can raise your hand. But regardless, Joe, I'm unmuting you now for questions that you may have, but it continues to kick back to the, there you go. You should be unmuted now.
Thanks, guys. I just wanted to ask if there's any idea what the anticipated storm surge might be on Anna Maria Island.
Look at, as of the latest weather report, we're looking at 2 to 4 feet.
I'm scrolling through looking for anyone raising your hand, either visually or virtually. Not seeing any hands raised. Jess, all right.
Kimberly, Kim was.
Jessica, go ahead.
Hey guys,
Morning.
what is by what time do you anticipate her tropical force, which obviously is when everyone should be off the roads and first responders have to get off the roads, by what time are you anticipating those tropical force winds in our area?
So we expect around this early afternoon, 2 to 3 o'clock, we'll start to see the conditions deteriorate further. And then from that point on, we expect it to get worse. The worst of it, we do believe, will be late this evening into early morning. And residents should expect it to it's going to be a rough night.
Okay, thank you.
Kim, I'm unmuting you now.
Okay, so I guess just my biggest thing is, since we're going to be live at noon and some other times with this, what is the message you would like to really get out to residents right now, just to prepare, and just give us that message one more time?
So our message right now is the time to prepare. This is a fast-moving storm. It is definitely sped up. We don't have that much time before we start to see conditions to deteriorate. Now is the time for them to make their plan. Fill up their vehicles. They should expect power outages throughout the night, possibly into the morning. So if they're dependent on power, they need to make some plans for that, as well as some food, last-minute food shopping should they need that, and then pick up their own area. So walk their area that they live in, at their home, in their yard. If they have loose objects, now's the time to bring those in as well. Those that know they are typically affected and the barrier islands and low-lying areas, make a plan now to go to a friend's place, get out of that area, and the rest should continue to shelter in place. It'll be a rough night, but we'll get through it.
Is there some concern, just from growing up in Manatee County and living on Anna Maria Island my whole life too, is there some concern that people have maybe grown complacent because we have been so lucky?
This is definitely late in the hurricane season. And even yesterday when we were talking about this, we didn't expect it to affect us like this. But one of the problems with that, with these types of storms, when it gets into the Gulf, it starts meandering back and forth. We're starting to get a more firm look at what this storm's going to bring us. And you know, that I'm sure with COVID-19 and just everything that's gone on in 2020, people are complacent. But now's the time. We do know that we are going to be affected by Tropical Storm Eta. It's now a hurricane now. We do expect that to deteriorate back down to a tropical storm before it makes landfall. And we should see those type of storm conditions throughout the night. So now's their time this morning, early afternoon, to make their plans and shore up where they live.
Okay, I see Angie. I'm going to try to unmute you now. There you
Hi.
go. Morning.
This is Angie with the Sarasota Herald Tribune. I just wanted to confirm with Mr. Barber, is it all Manatee County school campuses will be closed Thursday and Friday doing e-learning, or is it just the 2 locations?
No, all of them will be closed, Thursday and Friday. However, just like we did during the pandemic, last April and May, e-learning will continue. So we'll ask our students to, continue their classes online, and our teachers and support staff will be working remotely.
Thank you.
Okay.
Wendy Lane had a question. Wendy, I'm unmuting you now.
Hey, yeah. So I was just wondering if Jake could talk about, and I know this changes throughout the day and whatnot, but I know he said storm surge could be 2 to 4 feet on Anna Maria Island. I was wondering if we know right now what projected wind speeds could be here in the county, and then also rain totals.
So I'm looking at the latest report. Storm surge 2 to 4, 5 feet. We're expecting on the coastal barrier islands. 5 to 6 feet north of us, storm surge. We do expect when it gets closer to our area to be a tropical storm again. So we could see, sustained winds in the 50s, 60s with gusts of 70, 75 miles an hour as we go through this evening into tomorrow. One of the things about this storm, it goes from a tropical storm up to a hurricane. There's really only 5-mile-an-hour difference for it to keep going back and forth between a hurricane and a tropical storm. It's kind of centering around 70, 75 miles an hour, which makes it a hurricane, makes it a tropical storm. Not that big of a difference. Residents should just plan for hurricane category 1 type storm conditions throughout the night. Most of the residents here know what type of storm conditions their home, their area can sustain. So, it's basically a shelter in place type of condition. Again, storm surge is our biggest concern on the barrier islands as we move through this.
And really quick, rain totals, any idea?
Let's see if I can find that. I'm sorry, Wendy, I'm looking, I had that pulled up and I've lost it again. Steve, do you have that?
I heard this morning 4 to 6 inches rainfall.
That is, I just wanted to make sure that I was correct, but 4 to 6 inches does, from our latest National Weather Service briefing, 4 to 6 inches of rainfall.
Thank you.
Sam, you're up.
All right, so we've heard that the worst of these conditions are going to be late afternoon into the evening. At what time are you recommending for people to start sheltering in place to get to where they need to be to ride out this storm tonight?
Definitely by this late afternoon and early into the evening, they need to be where they're going to be. Obviously, the sooner the better. We're going to be sending out some alert Manatee messages here shortly after this call to let residents know if they need to evacuate, now's the time. But by late afternoon this evening, they need to be where they're going to be.
And, I know that we really don't want people to go to these shelters of last resort unless it is an absolute necessity. But what do they need to bring with them that they wouldn't normally bring because of COVID this year if they do have to go to one of these places?
Steve, you want to take that?
Sure. Above and beyond in Manatee County, they need to bring their normal bedding and chairs and et cetera. And if they do have their own mask and hand sanitizers, to bring that. We will be providing mask and hand sanitizers, but if they have their own, make sure they bring it. And as was alluded earlier from the school district, capacity is greatly decreased, and we will be using a footprint as much as we can to provide social distancing. So that's key, but bring whatever they do when they go out shopping or whatever. Mask will be mandatory. We'll have hand sanitizers. So that's the thing with, we want to enforce social distancing there also.
And might be a stupid question, but are schools closed today?
Yes.
Yes, they were closed for Veterans Day already. It was already a planned closing.
Okay, Sarasota wasn't closed, so I was just making sure.
Yes, Sarasota is not closed, nor is Pinellas not closed. So we are, which is somewhat fortunate for us right now.
So we'll still got plenty of time for questions. Like everybody else on this call, I continue to get updates from various agent partners. One I wanted to pass along for the public. Trash collections are expected to continue as normal tomorrow. Again, as Jake and Steve have mentioned, most of the storm is going to be this afternoon and into this evening, and tomorrow will be a much calmer day. So trash collections are not being impacted. I see our building department director, John Barnott, on this call as well. He notified me a few minutes ago that tomorrow's planning commission meeting has been postponed and is being rescheduled to a date later in November. Get that date into our press release, but tomorrow's planning commission meeting is being postponed. So those are some of the latest updates that I have. Still looking for anyone who may have questions. You can virtually or visually raise your hand to ask a question. Kim, your hand is still raised, but you do not intend to ask any more questions, right? Okay, you're squared away. Lower your hand. Open it up one more time for questions. Otherwise, we will assume we've answered everything.
There's a hand up here. It's
I'm not seeing it, Jake.
Arzola.
Oh, she was clapping. She was
I don't know what
applauding
I'm
the
doing.
phenomenal.
I don't know how to raise my hand. I'm trying to
I
do
thought it was
whatever.
just a. Go ahead.
Sorry. So, can we just? I'm right now sitting on in the park TV. And there's folks walking onto the beach as we speak. Can we just kind of talk about the importance of not coming onto?
Yeah, you're cutting in and out. I think that you're talking about. I think you're talking about people on the beach. We are in the process of closing all of our public beaches at this moment. So that'll be occurring, and it is occurring right now this morning, but all the public beaches will be closed on the barrier islands.
And people who go out into the Gulf on private beaches do so at their own risk. Our lifeguards are still working throughout the storm, but Jake, that's another important message. When you're not swimming in turbulent waters near a lifeguard, there's some dangerous conditions that could arise, and we do not recommend people do that. I also received note that the Island Library branch is closed tomorrow. So for the next 2 days, again, a lot of closures out on the island. From the public beaches will be closed today and tomorrow. Island Branch Library. We have the sandbag distributions updated on our website. Schools closed tomorrow. Planning Commission postponed. Commissioner Whitmore, you have raised your hand. I'm unmuting you. Give it just a second. There you go.
You know, the strongman, World's Strongest Man contest is at the public beach, and there was a tent there, I think this morning still. So don't forget there's tents at Manatee Public Beach that may have to be taken down.
Yep, those are in the process of being taken down now. The World's Strongest Man competition will not be held on the beaches that were previously scheduled for Thursday and Friday. Those will be moved to Feld Entertainment, not open to the public.
I see Director Barnott is, he's got his hand raised. I've unmuted you, Mr. Barnott. Go ahead.
Thank you, Nick. John Barnott. The Planning Commission meeting for tomorrow morning has been postponed until the 19th of November is our date that we're rescheduling that for.
Very good, thank you. Okay. Last opportunity. We're still looking for any raised hands or questions from the media, the commissioners, any staff remarks. I saw Randy Warren from the Sheriff's Office. If he had anything to add. Otherwise, I'm gonna wrap up here in 1 more minute.
Hey, Nick. No, we're answering.
Hey, Randy.
Hey, good morning, everybody. We're answering calls as normal. And obviously, we'll be keeping a good eye on what the county is doing in terms of all the updates. We'll be pushing that out and getting our social media to be echoing all of that. You know, obviously, if it got down to evacuations, then we'll be very involved in that. Flooding, road closures, all of those things. But right now, it's, you know, regular calls for service and certainly trying to make sure people, you know, aren't out in these areas that you've talked about.
Hey,
Thanks,
Nick,
Randy. Appreciate the partnership.
Hey, Nick, Randy reminded me of something real quick before we get off here. Later this late afternoon, this evening, probably will not affect us until early morning. we'll be making decisions with emergency medical services, EMS, and the fire departments of when we shut off service. Those vehicles cannot run if we get winds over 55 miles an hour sustained. So that is a possibility late evening, early morning, that we would suspend fire EMS services because of the high profile of those vehicles, but we will definitely let the public know should we make that decision.
Yeah, just one other closing thought here, Jake, and that is we heard this morning from Tristan, the staff meteorologist on the emergency management team, that it's a reminder we've had a lot of rain in recent days, so the ground conditions are already fairly saturated, and that will contribute to some isolated standing water and flooding conditions. And we always remind people not to walk or drive into flooded streets and standing water. Do you want to elaborate on that, any, Jake or Steve?
Well, the old adage is turn around, don't drown. I think we've all seen that message. Obviously, if there's standing water on roadways, that it's not worth it to try and traverse that. Just turn around, go to a different route. Fast moving water will pick up a vehicle, and it does not take much to take a vehicle off of its path just by fast moving water. So obviously, see standing water through a roadway. We expect some roadways to be flooded after this storm and during the storm. So obviously, it's not worth trying to traverse a flooded roadway. Just turn around, find an alternate path.
Thanks, Jake. Anything else before we wrap up here? Well, thank you all the media partners. You're invaluable in this effort to tell the public what's going on. So we appreciate the partnership, and then also from our commissioners, from the school district, the sheriff's office. Thank you, everybody, for joining in on the call. And Commissioner Benak, I see you make an appearance now. Do you have any remarks?
I just want to say thank you for getting this information out. And I know that is the purpose of this press conference, is to make sure that all of Manatee County citizens will be aware of the latest information. You know, this has just proven how fast conditions can change. And we just have to stay tuned to our media sources and online. So I think you're doing a great job getting this information out. And I hope everybody will take it seriously. We haven't had a storm come this close to us in quite a while. So everyone just needs to be aware. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thanks, Commissioner. And thanks again so much for everybody on this call for joining us on an unusual Veterans Day. Those of you who served, thank you, veterans. I know there's several of you on this call, so thank you, and we'll keep you briefed. If there's another press briefing, we will let you know in advance of that later today and of course tomorrow. So with that, we're signing off here from the virtual press conference. Thank you everyone once more for joining us. Have a good day.